What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Boleros. I'm here with Gab and Maui. Welcome back, guys. Matagal-tagal na bakasyon yung ginawa natin.
Yes! After such a long time, we are back with another
We're back.
episode.
We're back with another
Nag-Holy Week
episode.
break, tapos si Sammy nag-Europe break. Nagbakasyon!
Swiss Alps lang naman. Anyway, we're back and we have a lot of things to discuss. So we're doing a series of episodes. Don't worry, guys. We are back and we're doing a series of episodes. First things first, we have an announcement to make. So for this episode, we're actually going to talk about the games, the first four games or the first few games of Pinoy Liga. So we are covering the ongoing Pinoy Liga Cup. I think this is season 3. And we're actually sort of partnering with Pinoy Liga and sina Sir Benny Benitez. And why we're doing this is because we know na Pinoy Liga is one of the, popular big leagues na introduction to the upcoming UAAP season. So this is really the first time we get to see the people, the upcoming players, and the returning players of each UAAP team. And a lot of the big UAAP teams almost always join the Pinoy Liga the season. So nakita na natin the first few games. We've seen FEU, we've seen UP. Later we'll be talking about the upcoming schedule also of Pinoy Liga, and may kita natin a couple of more UAAP teams joining or playing their first games for Pinoy Liga. So we want to discuss what we've seen so far and look forward to the upcoming games. But before we start that discussion, we just short disclaimer lang, we just want to tell everyone, no? So this is Boleros. We are Boleros. So hindi naman talaga kami experts in basketball, especially in leagues outside of the UAAP. UAAP mas nasusubaybayan namin.
We are a UAAP dedicated podcast for now.
Yes, exactly. For now.
Hindi kami magpapanggap.
Hindi kami nagpapanggap. Boleros lang talaga kami, guys. So, I'm sure some of our listeners are experts or talagang nanonood, sinusubaybayan yung NCAA and maybe other leagues. So, feel free to comment down below, correct us, tell us who to look out for. That's what we're also trying to learn as we cover some of the games from Pinoy Liga. But please forgive us kung hindi namin masyado mapag-usapan yung team nyo because we're still trying to introduce ourselves to the other teams, okay? So let's get started.
Forgive us. It's the first time we've watched the Our Lady of Fatima University. I didn't even know they had a basketball team.
Grabe naman, Gab. But yeah, we're not as familiar with non-UAAP competition. Yun na lang yung sasabihin namin. So let's get started. Let's talk about the first four games or first few games. As I mentioned, UP, FEU, we've seen some of the UAAP teams. I want to talk about UP first. I think a lot of, surprisingly, a lot of their big guns played for UP during their game against San Beda, and you can see sa results, tambak from start to finish, it was a manslaughter for UP. Obviously, San Beda did not play their main players, the players that played in the championship. So, Maui, I just want to hear your initial reactions to the UP versus San Beda game.
Actually, to be honest, I did not expect UP to fill this lineup. Kasi if you look at yung history, I think yung Pinoy Liga during the previous years, diba, they don't usually pull up yung full lineup nila. But I think this is basically their whole lineup. Maybe si Alarcon and si Coronel and I think si Denzel Walker. Felicilda did not play. But basically, this is their lineup for next season. I think one of the things I have to say lang is Pinoy Liga even cost a steer online. Kasi when we were discussing yung initial lineups, we did not see si Jan Felicilda. And I think most of the
Terence
Fortea. Yeah, I'm getting confused. But yeah, si Terence Fortea, we did not see him in the initial lineup. But apparently, si Maymay Kagulangan corrected the page and si Fortea is actually part of the lineup ng UP. So now we see yung UP lineup after all the additions and all the subtractions from this off-season. And I can say, just much like last season, they are very scary. They are very deep. They are not underdogs. I'll be very frank, this early, they are not underdogs for season 87 of the UAAP. Even without one of their main recruits from this summer, si uh, sorry,
Pablo.
Pablo,
Pablo.
Pablo lost, diba? Left for LaSalle.
Ay, sorry.
Jared
So
Bahay?
even Jared Bahay, you could see Jared Bahay, but I could say that UP is really one of the favorites. Si Kagulangan, as usual, Gab's favorite guard, played a hell of a game nung their opening game. You really can see yung maturity ng game ni Kagulangan. And it's one of the questions probably that we have to ask coming into season 87 is will he start? Kasi si Felicilda did not play during their games nung weekend. And I think this is one of the burning questions that we had nung finals. Why was Kagulangan not getting more minutes? So that's something that probably we have to look at this off-season. But generally speaking, UP was dominant from start to finish. Si Tarkulas is somebody I would want to really watch. I see this guy converting his game to probably a small forward, power forward type of player during season 87. But yeah, it was really a massacre. I think we can all agree that UP is a scary team to watch. I think they started training January. Diba? So after the UAAP season, maybe they were really fired up when they lost to LaSalle. They started training camp January, very early. Much like LaSalle last season, I think LaSalle started very early. We mentioned this during our episodes during the previous off-season. And I think they really want to this is probably the redeem team for next season. I believe that they are favorites along with LaSalle for next season. Gab, what are your initial thoughts?
Okay, so it's hard to take anything much from this game. It was a complete blowout from start to finish. I mean, Beda played essentially their Team B. UP played their roster for season 87 already. So it's hard to take much of anything. But I did have a few observations. One, and my primary observation was they played Francis Lopez as a starting small forward on the wing with Terculas as the power forward.
Yeah.
That is very interesting to me. Maui, you and I, and actually si Sam then, we've all been saying this, that for Francis Lopez to progress his career, his basketball career to the professional level, it's not gonna have to be in the power forward side. He has to convert himself into a wing. If he wants to get a contract playing overseas, he has to convert himself into a wing player. And so that was a very interesting dynamic that Coach Gold started with. Now maybe that's because Alarcon was not playing, so it was mainly Abadiano and Kagulangan as starting guards. But my question is, can this be consistent that they play and they start Francis Lopez as a starting wing? The question I asked that because the question that I posed for that is who gets left out? Diba? If Francis Lopez plays as a wing, their other guards are gonna have to compete for two positions. No, there's still Chico Briones there, who sadly I think is still gonna get buried on the bench. Terence Portea, you mentioned. Raylan Torres is still there. Felicilda, Kagulangan, there's Coronel. So I'm interested to see if this is a one-game thing or maybe it's a really consistent thing moving into season 87 that we see a Francis Lopez on the wing playing on the perimeter rather than as a stretch four. Diba? That was pretty interesting to me. The other interesting part for me, and I think it's going to be a cheat code for season 87, is Gary Stevens. I think Gary Stevens is going to be a cheat code for this team. We saw it last season when Malik Diouf was off the floor. UP's defense and their offense went downhill. It can be seen from their efficiency standpoint and from their net rating. The plus minus is clear. When Malik Diouf was on the floor, they were a huge. No. Diba? When he was off the floor, ang laki ng drop off. When he was on the floor, they went on these huge runs. Now I don't think that they have that problem. They could put out Kingsley Udodo as probably their starting center to match up with other foreign student athletes. But when he's off the floor, you have a Gani Stevens who also started in season 85 for UE, was competent enough as a starting center, and I think he's a
Who
way slimmer.
guarded
He's way better now.
FSAs
Guarded
in when
FSAs,
he was with
yes.
UE. Yeah.
So I think he's gonna be a cheat code. I don't think you're gonna see the huge fall off, the huge drop off when Kingsley Ododo comes off the floor, who was also pretty impressive. Uh, so those are the positives that I took from this game. Now for some concerns for me, again, the logjam in multiple positions for UP. How are they gonna get playing time for all of these players? I mentioned a guy that I like very much, Chico Briones. He's a guard slash a wing. I hope he gets playing time. I love his skill set, but knowing Coach Gold and how he ran the rotations last year, I don't think there's gonna I don't think there's gonna be minutes available or that many minutes available for a guy like Chico Briones. He played less than 20 minutes in this first game, and that was without an Alarcon, a Felicilda, or even a Josh Coronel. There's also this guy who's in Iges, who also plays as a wing, who's very tall. So I don't know how they're gonna fit all of these guys together. Si LA Andres is also there, who's also a wing. So many players that they have to take into account of. And if Lopez pushes down to the wing, maybe you'll see more of Mark Belmonte. But who knows, man? What about Seven Gagate, who did not follow Luis Pablo? Is he gonna still be the third string center? Sorry, fourth string. Sean Alter pala is still there. So he's the fourth string center. So that really is going to be something to watch for me. Again, much like last season, there's a lot of pieces in this UP team, a lot of talent, and I don't know how Coach Gold is going to account or is going to develop all of them. We saw it already early in this offseason. A ton of talent has already left the UP. Will that continue, or is this the lineup already? Because fourth string center talaga, Seven Gagante, yun na yung upside mo. Fourth string.
Uy, pero Gab, napansin mo ba na he was playing, like, let's say, Seven Gagate and I forget sino yung kasabay niya. I think Gani Stevens or Udodo. Nagsasabay sila in certain lineups. I don't know if you noticed that.
It's good for now, Sam, but
he was experimenting with that setup.
Yeah, it's more experimenting. But are you really gonna leave Lopez, Torculas, and Belmonte out of that front court?
Yeah.
Diba?
Yeah.
Who were the guys sort of rotating a tower forward for them? So that's interesting.
One of their main,
but again, a dominant win by you.
Yeah. One of their main strengths is one of their main strengths is yung guard wing lineup nila from season
versatility
86,
nila
which they still have. Diba? So Gabi's right. If they decide to play Lopez on the wing, what happens? Who will be left out? We've heard a lot about Coronel having a stellar practices with UP. We have yet to see him, but that's the question. Paano nga naman si Coronel with Briones also looking to get more minutes? And if they really decide to make Terculas and Lopez as tall wing for small forwards coming to next season.
Yeah, Maui, you mentioned it, Josh Coronel. I think that's the biggest disappointment or main takeaway ko dun sa first game nila. I was really expecting them to play Josh Coronel because you've mentioned it. People are hyped on Josh Coronel so far. He's been doing really well during practices. As you mentioned, Maui, I did not expect to see sina JD Calugulan, Francis Lopez playing. I was expecting sina Josh Coronel. So when I saw the game, sabi ko, asan yung mga bagong players? But we did see Ray Mogat play and the other guys you mentioned, si Iniguez. So it was a dominant win, but I'm hoping later we'll talk more about this. But I'm hoping in the next few games of UP we get to see the other guys like Josh Coronel, who we haven't seen in over a year because of his injury, diba? So, or almost a year because of the injury. So
Needless to say,
go
though,
go Gab.
I think UP is gonna be the favorite to win the Pinoy Liga Collegiate Cup. I mean, if they're gonna play the season 87 lineup, they're basically the first runner-up team from season 86. I think we have
Plus
a
Remogat.
clear-cut favorite for plus
Plus
Remogat. I
Remogat.
think
Plus Remogat.
we have a
Diba?
clear-cut favorite for now for the Pinoy Liga Cup.
Pero si KQ kasali na sa Pinoy Liga Cup, tama ba?
We'll talk about that later,
So
Sam.
KQ has something to say. So we'll talk more about that. But sige, let's move on. But to the San Beda fans, though it was a massacre against UP, again, I think I've mentioned it. They played their essentially team B. They didn't play most of the guys that contributed to the championship of San Beda. So you don't have to worry that much about like this loss. I think that's yun talaga yung makikita nating difference in the teams eh, no? Some teams will experiment with their actual lineups and maybe experiment with different rotations, try to get the new guys integrated with the existing team, which during the Pinoy Liga media event, I think some of the coaches mentioned na they're using this opportunity to really integrate the new guys into their system and into their existing veterans. But there are other teams, just like San Beda, that we saw who would prefer to play the young guys or the new guys coming in and not really like the veterans or the existing players that are part of their team. So, iba rin. And it's really hard to judge yung performance of a team because of that. Talking about another UAAP team, we've talked about this team a lot lately. There has been a lot of news about them. So let's talk about the FEU Tamaraws who lost. They actually lost their first game, but we did get to see some of their new players or young players, high school recruits, playing really well. So Gab, I just wanna you talked a lot about like VJ Pre, one of your favorite high school guys. What was your reaction so far on like their performance and their new FSA? Kasi alam kong favorite mo yung
Wait
you
lang, Sam.
always
Yes,
you always call out yung FSA ng FEU. So, kamusta nga ang first performance ni ng FEU?
okay. So I watched this game from start to end, and just let's start first with the negatives because FEU lost this game. I thought maraming gigil sa ESA on FEU's part, especially to start the
Puro
game.
bata
They
Puro
fouled,
bago eh.
yes,
Puro bago,
a
puro
lot
bata.
of new faces on that FEU team, a lot of new and young faces on that FEU team. And it showed in the first quarter, in the first half. They fouled a lot and they turned the ball over a lot in the first half. Halata that these guys are not yet used to playing in the seniors division, or maybe not yet used to playing with each other. The style of play, just a ton of fouls in that first quarter, in the first half for FEU, and that even led to the end of the game. It was a tough day for John Ray Pasaol. It's a tough debut in the Pinoy Liga Cup for John Ray Pasaol. He turned the ball over a lot. He didn't hit his outside shots, and one of his turnovers, an offensive foul in the second to the last possession of the game, I think cost FEU the game. So he fouled out as well. So talk about a less than inspiring debut for John Ray Pasaol. Just horrible. Also, the FEU guards were in general pretty bad, including Joric Bautista. They hit 1-3 the entire game. They could not hit a shot. And their only three came from this guy Godinez, who's their backup point guard, with 3 minutes left in the game. That was their first three of the game. I think that told you all you need to know from that game. Lyceum, on the other hand, kept on hitting a lot of threes. And you kind of saw the maturity and the experience of Lyceum compared to FEU. Lyceum, very patient, despite being smaller. They didn't have an FSA. Their center was much smaller than Mohamed Konate. But They were patient. They were looking for mismatches. They were involving Mohamed Konate in a lot of screen and roll, in a lot of dribble handoffs. And they were hitting a ton of threes. So they ended up winning this game, and they were more mature. They turned the ball over less compared to FEU. So yeah, not the debut that you want from if you're an FEU fan. However, there are some positives, and Sammy referenced it earlier. Their FSA, Mohamed Konate, I
Looks
think
good.
was
Looks
pretty
solid.
good.
He looks
They
solid.
they stayed in this game
Nowhere to
because
go
of
but
their
up.
Yep. They stayed in this game because of their two front court players, si VJ Pre, who we'll talk about later, and si Mohamed Konate, who I think scored the first 7 points for FEU. And
Yeah.
and I'm impressed, honestly. Well, medyo mababa yung bar na pinanggalingan ng FSA ng FEU. So,
Pero magaling siya. Mukhang solid siya. Mukhang solid.
yeah, he was solid. He had a
Yeah, soft
right-handed
touch.
hook, a left-handed hook. He could play out of the high post. He could drive.
Yeah.
He could rebound the ball. He had a lot of offensive rebounds. Still needs to work on his lateral quickness because that's where they lost the game, honestly, when Lyceum just pulled him out of the paint and just trying to get him involved in a lot of screen and rolls. So maybe that's a point for improvement. But honestly, it's a great debut for Mohamed Konate. And one of the funniest moments in the game was the announcers actually referencing a conversation with program director Bert Flores and their interview about Mohamed Konate, and they asked him, "What do you think of your new FSA, si Mohamed Konate?" And si Bert Flores kind of said, "Na, oh, we're very excited for him, given our previous FSA was not as good or was not as capable." And I'm like, "Whoa, Mo Fati catching strays from the program director." That was so...
Being upfront.
Talaga sinabi nila yun on air. Ako
Diretsuhan
tawa-tawa
na.
ako.
Diretsuhan na. Wala
Diretsuhan
nang
na.
bulahan.
Bano si Mo Fati last season eh. So medyo tuwa kami kay Mohamed Konate. So I think he had a great showing. I'm interested to see how he matches up with other FSAs. Again, most NCAA teams and this Lyceum team did not have an FSA, and their center was pretty short yung compared to Mohamed Konate. The other positive for FEU, VJ Pre was really good. I was so impressed by VJ Pre. I think he kept them in the game along with Mohamed Konate. A lot of inside points. There were no plays run for him. He just kept on grabbing offensive rebounds, getting drop passes, flashing in the high post. Showed the bag, honestly. Except yung outside shooting niya, hindi masyado, well, buong FEU team, walang masyado pinakitang outside shooting. But I was impressed with the day. Exactly. But I was impressed with BJ Pre. But to your point, Maui, what's new talaga with FEU? And that's going to be a concern you moving forward. Without Cyrus Torres, where are they going to get outside shooting? Yeah, there's Joric Bautista who proved that he could shoot. Who else?
Jedrick
Daa was
in that game.
Yep.
Joric Bautista, 0 of 9 in that game.
Jedrick Daa was nowhere to be seen. I think he had a horrible debut as well. Their other wing/guards, Luke Felipe, Bagunu, wala, nothing. They couldn't shoot at all. So that's something they have to work on. No? And to be fair, they mostly played from the system last season. Yung sinabi ni Coach Sean Chambers during the interview at halftime na they're mostly practicing with the current system of Coach Deno because he's still trying to get to know the players. He's still trying to try to learn the tendencies and the strengths of his players. So I think it's this week that he's fully taking over the coaching duties for FEU. So yeah, he just got here. So we'll see. It's been reported that he'll run some sort of a triangle offense for FEU. So not this offense of drive and kick, yung screen and roll that Coach Denok yung likes to play. So maybe we'll see more from FEU, which is why I'm excited to watch them tomorrow at the game against Mapua. Let's see what's new and how they're gonna play. Because like UP, this is essentially their season 87 lineup. I don't think much is gonna be added. I think only si Nuevo and si Kirby Moncopa are the ones who sat out from yesterday's game. But mostly this is it. This is their season 87 lineup already. So Maui, Sam, go ahead.
Yeah, I think more of general comments in my head. If you has to be patient, they have to trust the process with Sean Chambers. I think this is complete reset. Finally, I think we've been saying this for the past 2 seasons. They have to completely reset their program. When they put Denok Miranda in as the head coach, we were excited because they finally decided to move in another direction and maybe try something new. But unfortunately, they still ran mostly the same sets as Coach Olsen did during his exit season, season 85. I think this is something new for FEU. My main takeaway really is good for them for being able to get yung core nila from high school. I think it's very pivotal to have a good high school program. If you watch yung episodes namin talking about UAAP juniors, we were talking about how most of the UAAP teams are starting to prioritize yung high school programs nila by even Coach Good could be the coach of the high school program of UP. All of the coaches were watching the games. Si Jeff Napa was also there ng NU. And this is a good sign. They get their top 3 players from high school, Munco Papre and basically si John Ray Pasaol. So right now, it's really all about trusting the process. Will Sean Chambers be the coach for the foreseeable future? I think in your question. Or will he transition also to a role similar to Bo Perasol with UP? I think kasi one of the main strengths of Sean Chambers is yung connections niya from the US. And then secondly is yung familiarity niya with another system, which is a triangle offense, as Gab mentioned. I think si Coach Johnny A is also going to be part of the staff. Si Sean Chambers talked about is how he is very familiar with working with Johnny A and how Johnny A is also familiar with the triangle offense. So it's going to be something new. We'll see the triangle offense in the UAAP, I think, maybe to an extent some variation. But this offseason is really about building that program. I can't stress enough how important it is for people to trust the process. Maybe we have to give FEU 3 to 5 years. Or maybe they'll surprise us, diba, in season 87. I think Coach Sean Chambers mentioned that they could be a dark horse team. And I think they have the pieces to surprise us for season 87. They basically have, I would say, the best recruiting class from the UAP juniors, getting their own, diba? Retaining their own talent. And it's going to be very exciting to see how they'll fit those pieces in with Joric Bautista, with Cholo Anunuevo, the new FSA, and even si John Godinez. I think Gab mentioned him kanina. He's a Division 2 player from the NCAA. So maybe
I like him. I like him also. But as Gab mentioned, I think that they have to really work on yung outside shot nila. Diba? In the modern basketball, shooting a lot of threes is very common. I think that's one of the reasons why Jack Santiago has been very successful sa UE. Successful, my definition of successful is not winning the championship, diba? Quote unquote. It's overperforming expectations from the off-season. And if FEU is gonna be able to overcome overcome expectations from this off-season, I really think that they have to work on their offense. Kasi that's something that they've been missing the past few seasons. Their defense has been stellar. They've been probably in the top 3 in the defense in the UAAP, but yung offense nila has been really missing. If you watch a lot of FEU, then probably you've watched yung lowest scoring games during the past
few seasons,
I
di
was just
ba?
gonna say,
Di ba?
they're top 3 in defense because lahat ng mga low, mga 40 mga games in the 50s, all pull them up the defensive
Di ba?
rankings.
Diba? They're able to handle yung pressure on the defensive end. But the question is, will they be able to score enough points, di ba, to beat the opposing team? Because at the end of the day, it will be points scored over your opponents that will win the game, di ba? So I'm excited. I'm hoping John Bautista will have a big season. I think he has that swagger that could get him to that could really surprise us. Similar to how Ray Remogat surprised us in season 86. Sam, any thoughts?
I think for me, for FEU, I asked you this question, Maui and Gab, I think in a previous episode. If you're an FEU fan, like how will you sort of look at this upcoming season? And I think that's what you also said in the previous episode, Maui. Now you have to take things slow. You have to be very patient. And I think a lot of like the FEU listeners that we've had also agree with that sentiment, no. So this is going to be like a long-term program or long-term plan. But what people should be excited about is meron ng pieces set that will help them get to that road to success, diba? You now have a coach that hopefully you can that can build the culture that will be coaching this team for a long time. And then you have, as you mentioned, your future players or your new recruits na Gab, Maui, you guys have been talking about the previous episodes. These guys, VJ Pre, Pasaol, these guys are the parang the new faces or the future of FEU. So it's good to see them at least playing here. So uh and with this game, even though they lost, even though they played most of their star players, again, we didn't get to see really how Coach Sean Chambers plans to utilize the team or utilize the players. So just like with San Beda, not using their top players, dito naman hindi pa to yung full picture or the complete actual look or lineup of the team come season 87. So I think it's really
Tsaka,
more about like getting reps for the young players for
yeah,
FEU
yeah,
now.
I
Sorry,
agree.
Maui, go ahead.
Tsaka I have to say lang, just to bounce on your point, Sam, this is an LPU team that got to the Final Four, di ba? During the previous NCAA tournament.
They're
This is a
pretty
well-coached
good.
team. Yeah, this is a
This
well-coached
ICU
team.
team, they're pretty good.
They play really well. They're very well coached, and this is just growing pains. I think for FEU, they just have to really understand that they're transitioning to a new program, diba? I mean, the good thing about it is with what Gab mentioned is they have the pieces that can potentially lead them to being a
Exactly.
contender again for the UAAP.
Yeah, exactly. By the way, LPU I think was the number one team if I'm not mistaken, or top two or something. Basta one of the best teams nung previous season. You Gab, you mentioned it. I also noticed si Konate scored the 7 of the first 11. Hindi naman for 7 points ata yun, but 7 of the first 11 points. So dun pa lang sabi ko, uy, first few points kay Konate mo.
The hook
Okay to.
shot,
I
my drive,
oh,
my layup. Sabi ko, at least nakakashoot siya from in the face. Si Muhammad
oo.
Fatih, hindi nga magawa yun eh.
I
Siguro
mean, it's,
talagang game plan nila yun eh.
uh,
Siyempre, mas malaki din si Konate versus the bigs of LPU. But
even
feeling
si
ko,
Mark Molina says, di
pakitaan
ba?
natin sila, di ba? Oo, pakitaan natin sila. Sayang lang, I guess, because one of their biggest weaknesses last season was their bigs. Now you have Konate, you have VJ Pre, who can play like a power forward at the power forward spot. Pero marami din silang wings or guards na nawala naman. So that's something that we need also to look forward to, no? The new wings or guards that are coming in. Jorek Bautista, you mentioned it, Maui. We expect him to be the star, not a good start so far in his Pinoy Liga debut, or season 3 debut. 0 of 9 from the 3-point shot. Gab, you mentioned they only made one, so they had 1 of 18 from the 3, so that's like 5% from 3-point line. But I don't think Joric Bautista will miss 9 shots in a game that often. So baka rusty lang or kulang pa sa
Adjusting to the new life, di ba?
adjustments. Yes, exactly. Of
As the
being
main
the
gunner.
main man, the main man. So, I expect FEU to bounce back and get better by the time season 87 comes in. So we've sort of talked about the two UAAP teams that have played in the Pinoy Liga. Anything you want to talk about before we move on to anything you want to add before we move on to our next segment? Kasi may minention na si Maui that I want to bring up eh. Okay na tayo?
Just the FSA from Enduran seems like a good player. Si Kenneth Umba. I think he also was
Yeah.
the MVP from the Next
Yes.
Man Cup of the previous Pinoy
The
Liga
previous
tournament. So
season tournament.
he was pretty good. But again, I don't want to pretend like yung I know these teams from top to bottom, no. But from just from the initial games, man, Kenneth Umba looks really good.
Even sa ano eh, 'di ba? Sa media event nila, one of the most hyped FSAs outside of the UAAP si Umba. So something to look out for. Alam mo naman pag may magaling na FSA
From non-UAAP or NCAA.
from non-UAAP teams.
Non-UAAP teams.
Uh,
Potentially.
non-UAAP teams.
Sa this is ano, di ba?
Tendency, they go to the
People
UAAP.
don't do. I think People don't do is the coach of Enderan. Not sure if he's still the coach.
Yeah. Dati, yes. I'm not sure until now. We'll have to confirm that. Sige, so let's talk about the second half before we end this episode. Let's just talk about the upcoming games kasi we've only seen two UAAP teams so far, but based on the schedule that we do have right now, we will get to see some of the other UAAP teams play. So let me just share the upcoming schedule here. So ito yung two divisions, the Group Prime, Group Edge, the two groups. Some of the UAAP teams are divided between these two. So elimination round, we will have a game. We're recording this on a Wednesday, by the way, April 10. So we will have a game tomorrow, Thursday, April 11. And it's another game from FEU against Mapua. We'll also see again Coach Olsen Racela's team go up against the Golden Stags. But on Saturday and Sunday, we will get to see three new UAAP teams play. So that's Adamson, that's NU, and that's Ateneo. So those three teams will be playing, and medyo may mga breaking news din for like Adamson and NU, which we'll be talking about soon. So among these games, my question now is, what's a game that you're sort of looking forward to or marking on your calendar? Maui, let's start with you.
Yeah, actually,
Alam ko
initial
na
reaction
kasal
lang
yung sagot nito ni si Maui. Alam ko na sagot ni Maui.
as always, but just an initial thought on the teams that are competing sa UAP. I'm surprised that UST is not part of the Pinoy Liga Collegiate Cup. I thought that from their experience from last season, kala ko all of the leagues they will join this season, but I think they decided not to join this tournament. It's surprising to me. This strategy did not work in season 86. I was hoping to see them play kasi this is really the year that most of their recruits are coming. As far as the game that I'm most excited about, it has to be Ateneo and Mapua. I think from all the teams, it's not because Ateneo. It's not because it's Ateneo. But I think if you look at all of the schedules from all of the teams this weekend, this is two teams that are Final Four teams from season 86 of the UAAP and season 899 of the NCAA. I can say that I'm excited also for FEU Mapua just because I want to see Clint Echamis against UAAP teams. This is a player that went from a UAAP team to becoming the MVP of the NCAA. So it's going to be very exciting for me to see. I'm hoping that we see a few players also from San Beda play against Adamson. But yeah, if you were to ask me, basically it's going to be Ateneo, Mapua, or FEU NU because we see a different NU team and we see Son Chambers getting his second game with the FEU probably. How about you, Gab?
Well, you said it. I'm interested to watch our Ateneo Blue Eagles. How how are the new guys gonna play? This is a young team with a few veterans yung sprinkled in there. Uh, how's our friend Mason Amos gonna fare? Is he gonna start? Is he gonna continue to come off the bench? Maybe Josh Lazaro will start. Who will start at center for Ateneo? I'm pretty much interested in that question. How's Jared Bahay gonna play? Is he gonna start over Ian Espinosa? So we don't know the lineup yet for Ateneo, but I assume we're gonna see a sprinkle in of the young guys. No, and we might get an idea of how the rotation will run for season 87. Because if you look at the Pinoy Liga Cup from last year, essentially their rotations from the Pinoy Liga Cup became their rotations for the UAP season, right? Ian Espinosa was starting games alongside Jared Brown. They were alternating, and that became the point guard rotation for his season 86. And I assume that's going to be the same thing. Coach Tab, I think, is going to do a lot of experimentation, but as the Pinoy Liga Cup goes on, I think you'll see more of how he will run the rotation for season 86. Other than that, I'm also interested in, of course, the NU and FEU. This is the first game where it's going to be UAAP team versus UAAP team. How is NU going to play? Are we going to see the new recruits for NU, which we'll talk about later? But is Reinhard Umamoy going to start? Or is Steve Nash Enriquez going to be the starting point guard for this team? Are they finally going to unleash my boy PJ Palacielo? I want to see. Is Omar John still their FSA, or are they going to go with Mo Diazana, who was their FSA from the last version of the Pinoy Liga Cup from
Very
last
good
year?
point. Yeah,
So,
very good point.
Diba? I am watching all of these, and I think a lot of the UAP fans should be watching these games because you will get a ton of idea of how these UAP teams are gonna play. Who's gonna be in the lineup for season 87, and I'll be watching closely. And if I get the opportunity, I'll probably watch live. Now it's in Paco Arena in Manila, so let's see how feasible that is. But yeah, I'm very excited. And also, you mentioned FEU. What system are they going to run? Are they going to continue with Coach Denok's system from last game, or is it going to be the new Sean Chambers set that we're going to see? And is it going to be a better game from their guards? Their guards were horrible in their first game, so I'm very excited. You can get a ton of info just by watching these preseason games. Sammy, Maui.
For me, it's NU. The top of mind for me is watching NU go up against FEU. You mentioned UAAP versus UAAP, but also we just heard about the news. The Adamson High School stars are joining NU. We'll be talking more about that. So I'm hoping they can still get to join the Pinoy Liga Cup roster, but we'll see. So far, some of the teams haven't played their young guys then. Tapos, for UP, I'm still waiting for the first game of Josh Coronel. So, nakita ko may dalawang UP games dito. Surprisingly, the other one is a
Back to
Saturday,
back.
the other one back to
Back
back.
to back.
Exactly.
I
One is on
assume
Saturday,
some
the
of
other
their
one
young
is Sunday.
guys will
So,
get some run.
yeah, exactly. So I'm assuming this is when we're going to at least get to one of these games at the very least. We get to see Josh Coronel and the other guys that they just recruited. So that's something that I'm looking forward to. For Ateneo, first game nila, obviously the guy I'm looking forward to seeing is Jared Bahay in an Ateneo uniform, Blue Eagle uniform. Pero I doubt. I have a feeling he might not play. So yun. That's what I'm looking forward to this upcoming season. Actually,
Is
interested
Sean
din ako, by
Kitevis
the
gonna
way.
shoot better? That's another question
Oh, with
for
his
me.
new form sa
His
Instagram, di
new
ba?
shooting form?
Oo, nakita natin. I was gonna say Adamson. I'm also interested to see Adamson. Why? Because they didn't get any of their high school recruits. who are they going to play in Pinoy Liga Cup? I'm curious to see who they got as new recruits. Alam mo naman, nanggugulat din yung Adamson. They also lost Hanapi, I think, who decided to go pro. So, curious to see what this team looks like now. The post Lastimosa era. So we'll see that this weekend and tomorrow we'll get to see FEU and the other teams play. So I think that's it for our first episode about Pinoy Liga. This is going to be like a pretty long season for Pinoy Liga. And as I mentioned, this is going to be a preview of the upcoming UAAP teams, the players and the team for UAAP season 87. So it's something to look out for. That's it for this episode. If you have any comments, questions, suggestions, ideas, please share them down below. Don't forget to like and subscribe. We'll see you again next time. Bye bye.
Good to be